Should you treat your employees like family or like a team? Tune in and find out.
You are listening to the Prosper at Law podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper at Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. One of the things that I struggled with a little bit, maybe a lot, I probably struggled with it a lot, is how do you treat employees? You know, what are they? What are the staff members? What are the team members? And Dan Kennedy, who's the marketing guru of America, basically the direct marketing guy, the no BS marketing, who's helped so many people and taught so many people how to actually market. And in the digital age, some people would say it's changed, and it's changed, but there's still a lot of like direct marketing, and he shows people how to do that. And he's considered the best at it. And I hope I'm not falsely attributing this to him, but I think I read where he had said that your employees are adversaries, that you have an adversarial relationship, with your employees. And is that true? When you look at what employees say and what bosses or employers say, you definitely see evidence of that. For example, just the fact that labor unions were created and that they exist is clearly evidence of that, because they negotiate and they bargain with each other over working conditions, hours to be worked, set pay scales, benefits, time off, health insurance, retirement plans. And that's clearly an adversarial relationship between the labor union and the company. And also, if you look at employees, when you hire them, it's a negotiation. It's how much am I going to get paid? What benefits do you have? What kind of things are you going to do for me, the employee? And then for the employer, they're looking at, well, we're going to pay you, but it's work. It's not fun. It's work. So you have to work, with the implication or the assumption being that it's not pleasant. No one really wants to do what we're paying you to do. That's why we pay you. And so in that kind of, and you hear people, people will complain about their job. People will complain about their bosses. They'll complain about the company structure. They'll complain about maybe how they're not treated fairly. They complain about their wages. You see situations all the time. Just open up a news article where people are complaining that salaries are low, but big corporations are making billions in profits. And that's an adversarial relationship. So there are other people, like my friend Branna Williams, who has a Indigo Family Law, and she does some other things, and she's successful. And their message is, we're a family. We're not a company. We're a family. And I think it's probably, I would say, split about 50-50 between how people look at this. And you see a lot of marketing. You see a lot of people talking about, we're like a family. And that's a good thing because you come and be a client of our law firm and you're part of the family. And so even though you're hiring us to do the work, we're your family. And I've thought about this a lot, and I think there's something wrong with saying we're a family. And the main thing that's wrong with it, at least in my mind, is that you can choose your friends, you can choose your employees, you can choose your teammates, but you cannot choose your family. So what is your family like? Are they helpful? Are they destructive? Are they toxic? And so, and David Neagle, who I follow, who's a life coach who's helped me tremendously, and I've done a lot of his coaching programs and intensives and things like that. He talks about toxic relationships. And, 10 years ago, I don't even think I knew what that was. But once I learned about it, I started becoming more aware of it. And then I see it, much more clearly. Like when you learn something that you did not know about human behavior or about success or anything else, it's as if you couldn't see and you put on glasses and the world became clear, or certainly clearer. And so I see this over and over. And one of the things that David Neagle recommends is that if you have these family relationships which are unhealthy and they're debilitating, and every time you talk to that person, they put you down or they criticize you. And one of the characteristics of toxic behavior is that there was a time in the past when you screwed up. You did something stupid. You made a mistake. And that person brings it up as a joke, where over and over the course of your relationship, they bring that up. They tell other people about your screw up. And I used to do that at some level, and then I learned, I just stopped because I thought it was joking. I thought it was all in good fun. But when I looked at it and I learned about it, it's debilitating. It's somebody that you know, like, and trust, or a family member that you admire or you have a great deal of affection for, somebody that you respect, somebody that cares about you. When they say something debilitating about you and put you down, that's bad. That doesn't help you. 70% of our thoughts, for most people, all people, 70% of our thoughts are negative anyway. So trying to have positive thoughts and positive affirmations is a challenge to begin with. You compound that in the most destructive way by being around people who are constantly pointing out, laughing about, teasing you, or ridiculing you about your flaws. And David Nagle's advice is that, they're still your family. So he's not saying just completely reject them, but if you're going to a family gathering, for Thanksgiving or something like that, limit your time. Don't go there early in the morning and stay there to the evening. Show up, have your filters on, and limit the amount of time you spend with them. There's a friend of mine, and her father is a PhD in psychology. And he's a clinical psychologist who worked in a lot of systems, and in fact worked in the prison systems and stuff like that. But he told her to stop talking to her sister, to quit trying to have a sister relationship with her own sister, his other daughter, because it was so damaging. So a PhD in psychology says, don't do that. This is not going to help you. This is bad. And so in terms of who you're around and you go to work, that's who you spend the day with. You spend the day with the people that work for that company. Everybody in my law firm, they spend all day together. And even the ones that are in court or doing something else, they're on the group chat, everybody's communicating. They spend probably more time with each other at my law firm, Complete Legal Defense Team, as they do with their family. Because when they go home, what are they doing? They're getting ready for dinner, going to bed, sleeping, waking up, and then coming and spend the day with me. So what are they? Are they my adversaries? Are they a team? Or are they family? And my conclusion and what I've done is that I've realized that in the past, and I've had a lot of employees over the time, because employees come and go, some quit, some were fired, because you're always looking for that right person, and they're hard to find. I have a lot of A players now. Really, almost everybody on my team is an A player, and those people are hard to find. And how to find them, that's a whole different topic. But the problem with if I make my law firm and my team members family members, if they treat you like family, well, I mean, you can't fire your uncle for misbehaving. If they're family members, they're family members. And so the issue I have with that is that I think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake to say that our company, our workers, our employees are family. And you disagree with me, that's fine. And I know a lot of people view it that way. But A players, whether they're in a law firm or whether they're on a sports team or any organization, the people that go to work for innovative companies, they want to be part of that. They want to be part of something bigger. They want to be part of the mission. And if you have slackers and C players and D players and F employees, your A players don't like that. They don't want to be around them. They want to succeed. They want to pursue the mission. They want to do good work. They want to be proud of their work. They want to make more money. They want to be treated better. And so that's a huge issue, because if I say that, Bob, I mean, he's Bob, and I know he messes up and he's always getting everything wrong, and you have to go behind him and fix his mistakes because he's family, he's part of our firm, he's family, we're not going to do anything about it, so we just have to tolerate him. Then at that point, I've destroyed the culture. I have destroyed the culture, because what is that message? And what's going to happen is the A players are going to leave. They're not going to stay. They're going to go somewhere else because they want to be part of something bigger and greater. So I think it's a critical mistake to sit there and say we're like family. I get where it comes from, because what they're trying to say is that, if you come to our law firm and you're a client of our law firm, we care about you and we're going to treat you well and we treat each other well. And I get that, okay? But realistically, as a criminal defense lawyer, my team is not my family. We work together. We respect each other. We're on the same mission. If our clients they're not our family, okay? It's just a professional relationship. We're there to help them and solve their problem. That doesn't mean we don't care about them. We care very much about what's happening to them, but they're not our family. And if you think about it, like if you went to, say, NASA or SpaceX or something like that, and they're launching rockets, they're taking human beings and blasting them into space, who do you want doing that? Do you want the best team that NASA or SpaceX can assemble, or do you just want a bunch of family members? I know if I'm strapped up in that rocket, I don't want the family blasting me into space. I don't want the slackers. I don't want the people, who are flawed. I want the best and the brightest and the most committed, firing that rocket. And that's the way I look at it. Now, in terms of how you treat employees, and I'm not saying that you treat them where they have to join a labor union to get treated fairly. I'm really the opposite of that. And on earlier podcasts, I've talked about how employees of mine, team members of mine, who were A players, had family emergencies and had to leave the country. And I've had people on my team, people that work for me, employees, that I paid them, I think it was 7 weeks when they were out of the country not working. So they're treated well because they're valuable. And I care about them. And in that instance, I cared very much what they were going through. I've had other instances where a team member, because of the situation in their life, literally felt like they were in such an environment that they had to move to another city. And so in that situation, and that's happened at least once, really more than once, I kept them. So we worked out a virtual working relationship. So it's not a situation where it's, my way or the highway. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about providing them a good work environment, giving them everything they need to succeed, paying them fairly, looking out for them when they have things that happen in their life that pull them out of work, because I know they're coming. They're not going to stop. And some of the people that work for me, I try to tell them, you got to slow down a little bit, because they work all the time, because we take cases all the time, nights, weekends, they're always working. And so much so that, because everybody in my firm has a work iPhone, and that's important because the contacts back and forth with the clients. And I've told them before, I think I may have to send you on vacation and take that phone away from you and let somebody else monitor it, so you're not working through your entire vacation. So I'm not talking about mistreating them. The other thing is, there's this woman named Sherry Deutschmann, and she sold her company for $40 million. And I think I read her book. I certainly learned a lot about her. I read her book. But Sherry Deutschmann had this company called LetterLogic. And she, I think she started in her basement, and it was some kind of medical billing company or something. And so she started from nothing and then sold the company for $40 million. And one of the things she did is she put in this profit share for her employees. And basically, it was 10% of profit. And this was something I wanted to do in my law firm Complete Legal Defense team, is take monthly profit and give 10% of that profit to all of my team members equally. And when Sherry Deutschmann did this, all the people told her that you're crazy, that doesn't work that way. But she gave the same amount of money, to the receptionist, to the custodian, to the runner, as she did to the salespeople. And the salespeople were maybe making, 10 times as much as the custodian, or maybe a lot more than, say, the receptionist. And so some of the high-end people, or at least one, she says, came in and says, it was kind of condescending because, she's a woman. She started from nothing. She's got this company. So some of these high-end salespeople were making a ton of money, and they're salespeople, and they're valuable. They're extremely valuable, but they're also well paid because they're getting commissions. And one of the salespeople came to Sherry and said, listen, I want to explain to you that my bonus based on my pay scale should be so much higher than these other people, and I don't think you're treating me fairly, and no business does this. No business does what you're doing. Nobody gives 10% of profits to everybody across the board. And she fired him. And that was a valuable salesperson, but that person wasn't open to that. I had a similar experience in my law firm because I had wanted to do this for about a year and a half, and the person that was running my firm for me, my chief operating officer, she was adamantly against it. And she said, well, some months we don't make a profit. And so if we share the 10% of the profit on the profitable months, that's going to hurt us on the ones when we're struggling. Okay? Well, when I implemented that, it changed everything. Okay? Because we were making a profit, we were sharing money across the board. The other thing I did and when I first learned about this, that I felt so uncomfortable with it, and there was a couple of reasons why, is I'd learned about law firms that everybody in the law firm knew what their revenue numbers were. They knew what their gross revenue numbers were. They knew what they were making each day and each week. And I used to think, because at the time I thought of my team members and my employees as adversaries, I thought, well, I can't let them see those numbers. And when I think back about it, that's probably a huge breakthrough for me. And so right now, you can go in my law firm, and on this huge whiteboard It has the weekly goal, it has the monthly goal, and there's a number that gets updated throughout the day of how much money's come in. And everybody's looking at that, and everybody's working on that, and everybody's cheering that success. I never thought that was possible. And if your employees are adversaries, it's not possible. Is it possible if they're family? Maybe so. But that type of environment that I've created now is sometimes I just have to stop and be grateful for it, because I never knew I could have a team like this. I never knew that I could find real A players who care about the clients, they care about the work, they care about the business as much as I do. And that's been a marvelous change in my life, and something I never thought was possible. So a lot of that has come about because I'm very transparent with people. And we're pulling together, trying to achieve these goals. Sometimes we hit the goals, sometimes we don't. One of the negative parts of it is that when we aren't hitting the goals, when they see the revenue numbers aren't going well, they get kind of down. It can be kind of a downer, and I want the mood to be optimistic and hopeful and celebratory. And so when it's not working, they're as displeased with it as I am. And in my former life, I would go to work. People worked for me. They complained about how much money they made. They wanted time off, or they didn't want to work, and it was never a situation like it is now. And I didn't think it was possible. And I had an adversarial relationship with them. I can tell you from experience that having a team that's held accountable, who's bought into not only working for me as their so-called, quote, leader or whatever, but have bought into the mission. And a mission of Complete Legal Defense Team is defending the accused who have a lot to lose, putting our team to work for people, and changing the lives of our clients. My team members, they live for that. The lawyers do, the paralegals, the person that answers the phone. They're all bought in. They're dialed in. And that's an extraordinarily different situation than it was going back, say, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, where I had an adversarial relationship with my staff. And I don't even like to call them staff. I call them team members, because they are. We work as a team. We hold each other accountable. And the other thing that's changed is that I hold them accountable less and less, almost never, because I never need to, but they hold each other accountable. If somebody's not pulling their weight, they say something, or they'll have a meeting. They'll have a meeting without me, because they want everybody reaching for the same success and the same outcomes that they're working for. And it is possible. And I don't know what your law firm looks like. I don't know if your employees are adversaries. I don't know if you have any A players. It's unlikely that you do. And you could get on a call with me. I could look at it, and I could tell you just from talking to you whether you have A players, whether you have any, or whether you have a bunch of adversaries that are daily kind of working against your own success. You'll never succeed that way. If you read business books and read books about people who turn companies around, major corporations, every one of them will tell you that. It's not just words. The culture matters. If you're interested in learning more, if you want to know more about how to build an all-star culture in your law firm so your stress levels go down and your revenues go up and everything improves, reach out to me at prosperatlaw.com. I'll be happy to talk to you. See you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.